ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Anime Watch Club, a bi-weekly group discussion and review where the hosts of the What You Say Anime podcast nominate and vote on shows either we haven't seen or shows that hopefully lead to a great discussion. On today's episode, the apprentices of the What You Say Anime podcast will be reviewing the 2016 anime Shouwa Genroku Rakguo Shinju. Now, this is the part where I normally introduce the cast, but instead, on today's intro, will be my first ever Rakugo performance. Please enjoy. Thanks, Pete. So let's talk about Genroku Rakguo Shinju, or Rakugo Shinju for short. Yeah, I don't know. It was done by Studio Dean in winter 2016. That season had some heavy hitters like the first season of Konosuba and my personal favorite anime, Witchy Precure. The show has an 8.55 on Mel at the time of recording, and I watched this entire season in 38 minutes thanks to 9anime's new feature of 12x speed. Yeah, I don't know. How about we do first impressions? I don't know. Let's start with Kat. So, my first impressions, so Pete was pushing the show called Rakugo Shinju that seemed fun. My first impressions for the first few episodes, I actually hated this show. Oh, sorry. 1 second. My 3D printer is going off. Let me shut it off real quick.
Oh, fuck you.
I was thinking of giving this show like a strong 2, and honestly, I can't get into it too much right now, but there were some things that were presented that I wish were handled a little differently, and just because of that, I can't recommend it. Okay, thanks, Kat. Let's go to Jay. So yeah, first impressions of the show. For people who know me, like I like some esoteric stuff. This was a big vibe. Honestly, this show has atmosphere in spades. From the ambient soundtrack to the music used in the show really gets you curious to start. So yeah, I think I would recommend it. Thanks, Jay. Let's go over to Miles for his first impressions. The show, it was good. It was good. It was good. I liked it. It was good. I would recommend it. I liked it. It was good. Okay. Thank you, Miles. And last, let's go to Pete. I really liked it. Like, really liked it. Did I say really enough? Because I really, really, really liked this show. This was a great show, and I would recommend it. Thanks, Pete. And for me, I don't know. I couldn't really personally relate to a 1940s Japanese man, so I think I would not recommend it. I don't know. It had some things going on. I don't know, but something about connecting to it. I don't know. I don't think I could recommend it. Thank you for coming to my Rakugo. Thank you. Thank you. I will be here every Monday.
That was amazing.
That was actually really funny.
All right, I'm going to kick over to Pat.
Racist. There's no way.
I'll kick over to Pat for actual first impression.
Oh my god.
I don't know what to say.
I don't know.
There you go. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, let's do our actual first impressions. Miles, why don't you start us off with your first impressions of Rakugo Shinju? Oh man.
Yeah, as accurate as my like diction and syntax were in Pete's Rakugo, unfortunately he did get one thing wrong. My first impression of the show was that I fucking hated it. I mean, I guess, spoiler alert, I liked this show. I hate episode 1 of this show so much. I do not care about any of those things that happened. I just don't care. There was like a 30-minute Rakugo performance in the middle of the show. There is a reason Rakugo is a dying art as presented by this show. And I say art with quotation marks. And that is, as you can tell, from the Rakugo performance of Discount Battler Ushidamiya, it's just fucking boring. It's boring. Now, that being said, once you get past episode 1, which frankly I would recommend you skip. There's really nothing you need to know there. You can figure out all the other shit later. It'll be presented to you in the only other episode that it is relevant, which is the last one. And I really enjoyed it. I think the characters are great. I had a good time. Really good direction. Really is sort of the comeback story of the century of the week. So would I recommend this? Yes, I would.
That's interesting. That would completely change the story if you just skipped episode 1 and watched. You wouldn't, because you wouldn't know what's gonna happen, like all the spoilers.
You'd be like more surprised by it. It would.
I think that is so interesting. How different it would have been of a show. Wow, that could be a fun talking point. Actually, I think. I am very intrigued by that thought. That's a good thought, Miles. Well done. Kat, what about you? What do you have to say, my friend?
Yeah, so for me, yeah, I fucking hated the show. No, I'm kidding. I actually really enjoyed the show. Uh, the first episode didn't really stick out to me as much. Let's start with the first impressions. First 3 episodes were really fun. I liked how the first episode kind of roped you into believing that the main character of the show had like a dark past, and then I liked how things kind of played out in the first few episodes. And suffice it to say, I would recommend the show because it's just it. I feel like it's a really good. Uh, I feel like it's a really good case study in like method acting, personally.
Okay, fair enough. All right, Jay, what about you?
Yeah, so I enjoyed the first few episodes of the show. I do agree that the first episode is a bit slower paced. I do not agree that you should skip it, however. I think that's I don't know, like it's just there to establish, Yotaro's character and as well as Yakumo's character, like the 8th generation or 7th generation, I think, whatever it was. And to show you like it gives you that stark contrast in the second episode when you see what he was like as a child and him talking about it and how he talks about his childhood compared to how he talks like to people that are in the present and everything. It sort of informs you really early about how like he's a pretty nostalgic character and somebody who yearns for his past, where he didn't feel like he was like truly alone and just waiting to die and pass it on to somebody else.
That's probably the objectively correct take, Jay. I just want to counter with it was boring.
It reflects the parts of the show pretty well then, right? If it was a little bit boring, I would say, right? Or are we not in agreement there? Maybe I don't know. We could talk about that later. Sorry, Jay. Continue.
It's okay. I think what really stood out to me in the beginning of the show was, again, I'm just gonna play into Pete's stereotype of me here. The ambiance that they presented when you went to like the 40s and they start using like the soft jazz and everything, like the amount of just like pure visceral emotion that oozes from that ending song the first time you hear it, and you just hear like that lonely trumpet solo going crazy. I love it. Like it literally made me feel like I was taking a smoke, watching the sunset on the coast while drinking coffee or something like that. And I was about to say like kids these days or something like that. They don't know what it was like for us before the Great War, the big one that I served in. It makes me feel nostalgic for a time that I didn't even exist in, where my father didn't even exist in, that sort of thing, which that's just the hallmark of great fiction or writing in general, like the ability to take you to where it's trying to take you. And I think that does it perfectly. So yeah, I would recommend it.
Okay, there we go. I was like,
Sorry.
more? You're good. You're good.
I had to do a dramatic pause.
Yeah. Build the tension. But yeah, all right, Pete. What about you?
Just for reference for my Rakugo performance, those were real intros that Kat and Jay both gave in other episodes. Kat was from Yurakuma Arashi and Jay's was from Sunny Boy. Miles was just every episode we do. And then Pat, you never get an intro, so I had to makeshift that one.
I appreciate it. It was
Pete,
fun.
you missed me saying that you might enjoy the show or you might not.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good point.
I'm pissed at myself that I didn't do that. Damn
You
it.
also started with me
wash.
first and not Miles.
I wanted to, I had a whole reason why I set it up the way I did it, but so for this show, I think if I watched this show 5 years ago, I would strongly dislike it. But now that there are some shows that I've gotten really into and like loved, that it resonated with me more. I don't know if you guys got these comparisons, but from the first episode, I kind of got like a mix of like Kids on the Slope and March Comes in Like a Lion. And I like these stories that are it's centered around like a specific topic, whether it's Kids on the Slope with jazz or shogi with March Comes in Like a Lion. It's centered around the focal point of that, but like it's really about like the characters and like what they're doing with that tool that they have. And Rakugo to me was like the same thing. And so like I really got invested in these characters right away. Unlike Miles, I loved the first episode. I thought it was great. I did like the switch up because a lot of the Rakugo stuff that I've seen in the past or read has been more like serious, and then the comedy tone was much better. I think it translates better into anime compared to something in manga, where manga can be funny, but like I do enjoy like the vocal pitches that like this show does. I think like the one thing that like really stuck out to me in these first 3 episodes is the range of the voice actors. Like they all killed it. Like we'll talk about it going forward, but like the showcasing how you can tell immediately with like our limited Rakugo experience of like who is somebody that is bad and who is somebody that is good and then who is great. And I think that the show encapsulates on that so well, where like I was invested in like the really good performances because I had references to the other stuff. So I would recommend the show if you're a fan of something like Kids on the Slope, March Comes in Like a Lion, these dramas centered around a certain topic, but it's more about like the characters themselves than what they're actually doing. It's not like Haikyuu where like the outcome does matter in their match. I feel like in this, like the outcome of like a Rakugo performance doesn't really affect the story. It's more of like what these characters like do with the Rakugo themselves. So yeah, I really enjoy this show.
Nice. Yeah, so I would probably recommend this to anyone that likes drama shows. My only caveat to that is that it like what Pete said, I thought he made a really great point there. Like 5 years ago, I would have found this show so boring, like horribly boring. Maybe not in the first episode. I didn't mind the first episode as Miles seemed to, but I can see where he's coming from. And I think that it more just like the show felt like it dragged at points if I wasn't like fully invested in what was going on. But and if I wasn't watching it in like an anime club setting, I might not have continued with it. It is a show that I think is worth your time of day. I think one of the things that does extremely well that you can tell just from the get go is they don't just pick random Rakugo short stories to tell. They tell stories that either have very similar themes to what's happening on screen or similar themes to the way the character's emotions might be like piling up or being felt in that moment. And I think they do a really, really good job of doing some parallel storytelling in that. I I do really like Miles's idea though. I think we should talk about that because that would change. Like but at the same time, I kind of almost forgot about the first episode after like 7 episodes of watching. You know, like I was like, oh yeah, that's right. We're eventually going to flash back forward to the future or the current time, I guess. So I don't know. It's I don't know. Yeah, I would recommend it though to most people that like drama. Would not recommend this to the average Joe though. I don't think. I think that this show is way too slow paced and dialogue heavy for the average person to find it compelling. But if you're willing to put in the effort, I think it's heavily worth your time. So yeah, all right. I think that's all recommendations all around.
Yep.
Yeah, nice. Good job, guys. Thanks, Trent, for putting that on screen too. By the way.
Yo, I'm editing this episode.
No. Oh well. Fuck you then, Trent. But yeah, all right. Let's get right into it. So spoilers coming forward. It is pretty spoiler heavy, I would say. Although, again, I guess you should be able to tell what happens. But at the end of the day, spoilers matter, and they change how you view a story. So yeah, let's get that out of the way and get right into our first talking point or synopsis first. I guess, Miles. What have you got for the synopsis here?
Yeah, so we, I guess, start in a period of time that is close to the modern day. We meet a young convict slash Rakugo performer who is getting out of prison and goes to his old master's house and asks him to take him back in. He wants to turn a new leaf and get back into Rakugo, as opposed to uh, being a member of the Yakuza or something, which is sort of what I think he was doing.
Yeah,
His
he's a
name is
gangbanger.
yeah, the name is Yotarou. So you also see he meets his master's or is reintroduced to or whatever post prison, like adopted daughter type character, though she's not super fond of him. I guess Yotarou or his master. And so you learn some stuff about their past. And this episode, we see Yotarou do some of his Rakugo, and then after that, we get into delving into the past, how this all happened, his sort of story, with the woman's father, who is now deceased, and who was like his dear friend and like Rakugo.
Gay lover.
Very potentially, at least in the subtext. Um, and so his like sort of like Rakugo rival slash more positive or inspiration, sort of like someone who helped drive him along Rakugo, who he sort of like came up with. And so starting in the next episode, we sort of flash back from their youth and see how we got to this present day scenario. And that is the general synopsis, without getting in to too much detail.
I don't know.
But
Why
yeah,
don't we start with your talking point then of like what did the first episode, because that is a pretty. I remember like everyone was talking about it as we built up to this episode today. Like what did you in particular not like about it and find boring, other than it wasn't like a 30-minute Rakugo performance. It was like 10 minutes, right? Was it not? Like
It
it
was
felt like
long.
7
That
that
hours.
long?
I bet it was 20
Um,
plus.
Was it
Yeah.
really? Wow, damn. I mean, again,
Yeah, it was pretty long.
I'm telling on myself here. 1.5 speed saved me from that because I didn't get bored of it. But
oh my god.
no, like actually though, like yeah, I that's the talking point I had for this show is that watching it at 1.5 or 2x speed at very minimal moments made it more enjoyable for me because it meant that it didn't linger on certain things for so long. But I can see why people would want to watch it at regular speed too. But
Yeah, I think you missed
just,
like a huge thing of the show. Watching it faster is the voice acting, and I mentioned it earlier that I think like the overall cast in this show. I think this is maybe like the best voice acting cast that I've watched in a very, very long time. Like so many times, so many different people's voice actor or voice actress stood out where I'm like, it has like that I don't know, like the sudden thing in your ear where it's like, oh, that I perked up a little bit. Like, what are you saying? Like, this is great. Especially the comedy guy,
Sunraku.
Sunraku, yeah, like him doing like serious stuff, but like realizing like he's more of like a comedic Rakugo performer, and just how much better he was when he was doing stuff like that. I thought was like a huge part of this story in general.
yeah, I don't know. I feel like I got that at 1.5 and 2x speeds though. You know, like it's not like I stopped listening to the voice acting.
I guess
speed.
maybe.
It
some
wasn't
people
4x where it's like gibberish. It's like it was still coherent
Somebody
enough.
says something so 1.5 speed phobic.
That's I'm like, my stance is with Pete on the. I generally like, if anything, like I have friends who listen to like audiobooks or podcasts at like 1.2, 1.5. My cousin does it at like 2.5 because he's a psychopath.
That's
None of them are seeing heaven.
And
Sinners, all sinners.
I could never. Because like to me it's just like it's so weird and I feel like I would miss like because like the pauses being different and stuff. However, this is going to be such a stupid statement, okay? Like so everyone out there who's listening to this, I understand this is wrong, okay? What I'm about to say is incorrect.
I'm excited.
This show would be like way better if it just didn't have Rakugo in it, like at all, and they just had any sort of job. Like they were fucking accountants or something.
So you agree with Miyokichi overall that he should have gotten an honest job?
Of course he fucking should have. Yeah.
This is like you with IQ. You're just like, it'd be so much better if they didn't play volleyball.
I don't know. Because like we're watching like two of the best Rakugo people, right, do Rakugo. And I thought almost all of it was super dull. And then on top of that, they kind of thought that too. They were like, wow, this sucks.
Television is so much better now. No wonder no one wants to come see us perform. Like, when television exists. Like,
we've been doing the same 4 stories since 1500. We don't even use the right currency in our stories. It's like, but like, like a big point of this is how fucking boring Rakugo was, and they definitely drove that point home, in my opinion. And then also like, this didn't drop off after the first one. It was like okay, but just 20 something minutes of this man just talking to himself, and like, you know what? I'm going to disagree, Pete. I didn't think the voice acting was that great.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't. I think Rakugo is like, you did it, Pete.
Truly on some old hater shit.
Like, it was like, oh, I'm the serious cop voice. Now I'm a criminal.
Yeah, but
and that was it. I just did Rakugo.
You're such a hater.
I don't know. Like, all of the stuff I cared about in this show was like the interpersonal drama, and some of it was like related to Rakugo insofar as like the politics of Rakugo, and sometimes they would tell stories that would like mirror whatever was going to happen or what was happening in their life. And that was kind of fun to like, as Pat was saying, like the simultaneous or like the parallel storytelling was good. I just like, my take is that the people who were Rakugo haters in this show were right. And when they looked at it and were like, wow, the only people who come to our show are fucking 90-year-olds or whatever, there was a reason for that. And it's because it's awful. It's stupid. It's dumb. They do like a legit play in this where they got to talk to each other and like act together, and that was really good. It's just like strictly better Rakugo. Anyways, fuck Rakugo.
Jesus.
I understand that's wrong.
But you still like the
it.
show, though.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, it was really good.
Why are you holding a shotgun? Talk to us about this.
That was for the other episode.
I get what he's saying though. I do. Like I think the voice acting was really good though. Like what you're saying, like when they were doing the different tones and like you could tell them they were getting into it a little bit, which was fun.
Oh yeah, he stole all of my money. I had so much money.
I thought the first episode was so funny.
So much. There's a scene in the first episode where they're trying to drive home how good he is at Rakugo, and he like, I guess, sets up a joke and then like looks at the camera and like delivers the punchline, and it wasn't funny at all. And I was just like, I'm gonna fucking hate this show. And I didn't. I did like this show, but episode 1 was a tough one for me.
Yeah, I'm talking in general though on the show. I felt like they did I did notice that the Seiyu were doing a very, very good job. I get where you're coming from, I guess, with the fake voices, but that's like that would be the same thing as like getting mad at like a Shakespearean drama for like using Old English, would it?
You know what? This is correct. I think this is just more demonstrating that Rakugo is stupid, and the voice actors did a good job of voice acting that.
Fair. That's fair. I mean, that's fair. Yeah. But yeah, it's like it'd be getting mad at like a Like, what else are they supposed to do? You know, like they did a good job.
What's
Yeah.
going on here?
It's like if someone was supposed to like voice act singing poorly, and they did that very well.
Right. There you
That's
go.
so they voice acted people voice acting bad very well. I will say that.
Thank you for acknowledging that. Good. All right.
Can I just defend episode 1 for a minute?
Yeah, please do. I was
Because-
going to ask,
do.
like,
Because
what
Miles
are
thinks
some
you
of the
can skip
positive
it.
things?
I don't think you can skip it at all because it literally sets up the entire reason of why Yakumo took in an apprentice. Because if you didn't see the first performance, you would never understand like the reason why he accepted his first apprentice was he's essentially the mirror of his prior lover, and like that's why he like
Yeah.
picks him, because it's like he sees like the cutting image of him. And so if we
Lover?
don't see it's a like I think Yakumo is like a closeted homosexual in this show, like straight up.
I think he's asexual, honestly.
I agree
I
with
can
that.
see
I
that.
think
I
if
just-
anything, they are intimate.
he has
but not,
zero interest in like sex.
How he like reacts to seeing Sunraku, to me,
Sunraku, the guy from Shangri-La Frontier,
That was my fault.
Whatever his name is,
Suke Roku,
Suke Roku.
Pencil gone.
we'll just call him Roku.
the Roku
I'm
channel.
gonna call him Shin.
Two shows in a row, huh?
Well, I was just like how he like jumps on him was like so affectionate and stuff like that, and like he didn't show it with anything. It's the berserk in me. Like this is Griffith and Guts. There we go. And it's that two dynamic. But I think the episode was very important to establish the reason why he is joining his family essentially.
today I learned Pete doesn't hug his homies. That's too bad.
I kiss the
Uh,
homies
He
goodnight every
does.
night.
He does hug his homies. When we
I
met
know
in
he
New
does. I
York, the first
literally-
thing he
Why
did
do you
was hug
think
me.
I moved here?
Yeah. Fair enough. No, I see. I just thought Miles' thought experiment was really interesting.
fun.
I don't. It
I
it
feel
is
like
fun to
the-
think about
The
how different the
fans
show
are going
would
to
be.
hate that. The Rakugo Shinju fans are going to be so angry about it.
What, the
No.
Rakugo Shinju fans are going to get mad that I said the first episode establishing the fucking plot is useless and can be skipped, and that also Rakugo is dumb. I can't believe it.
But like that would be, it would just make it a completely different show, and like I think in a cool way, because I think it, even without that first episode, you can still figure out at least who he is, you know,
Yeah,
and like
I
the
agree.
flashback on its own, the flashback without flashing forward to everything else would be an incredibly good drama, in my opinion. I think like watching it's almost like a biopic. It would become at that point of watching this character go through the things that they're going through, and then eventually end up back at the present time where I don't know. Again, you wouldn't even need to introduce us to
Yeah.
the apprentice or anyone.
Yeah, watch 2 to 12, 1 13.
I like that.
So
Yeah, I can see that.
it's really interesting that you bring it that you brought that you said that we didn't need to watch episode 1 because this show feels fairly similar to another Watch Club show we did, Ooku, with how it starts off in a later time and then rewinds back to an earlier time. And I would agree with you with Ooku because the first episode, although interesting, didn't really do anything for the rest of the plot. But this, I have to disagree with you because it like everybody has said, it sets up for the rest of the show, and I don't really see how you thought it was boring because it was very like I felt like the acting in the Rakugo performance was actually really well done. I don't know. I don't.
If you like the Rakugo performance, you're going to like episode 1 because one half of it is a good Rakugo performance, right? So that's the difference between us. For me, it was like I guess ironically, intentionally in retrospect, it felt very in medias res when it first started, right? So like I was like, okay, what the fuck is going on here? And then we met the redhead woman who smokes, and I was like, okay, at least I get to watch this woman exist for the rest of the show. and that was a lie. So you're really only setting yourself up for disappointment by watching episode 1. But, and then so as I'm watching this, he starts doing his Rakugo, and I'm like enjoying it, to start with, and then it goes and it goes and it goes and it goes and goes, and I didn't like it that much. So that's why if you're like, oh, I really liked this Rakugo acting, then hell yeah, then of course you would like it. I just didn't. And as I've mentioned, wrong. I'm objectively incorrect, but I didn't like it. That was stupid.
Fair enough.
Was there any Rakugo performances you did like?
No.
Okay.
I could take a guess at the one Rakugo performance that I did like, and it wasn't a Rakugo performance; it was the play.
I loved the play. Thought that was great.
The play was good. It was
Yeah,
really
The
good.
play was really good.
Thought that was
The
really
play
cool.
was good. I did. I can
when
agree
they
with that.
when they did the tag team Rakugo in episode 12 early on for the daughter, I liked that. I thought that was good.
Yeah.
And none of the other Rakugo performances last almost 30 minutes. They're usually somewhere between like 2 and 5 minutes, and so they're more digestible in my opinion. None of them were like, oh holy shit, wow to me, but like I didn't hate any of them like I hated the first one.
I think that's fair. I agree that the first performance was the weakest of them all, by far. I really liked the one about the fisherman and who found the wallet or whatever. I thought that was a really good story that they showed, like actually being like an interesting story too. Like, because a couple of the other poems that they did, or whatever you want, spoken plays, however you'd want to refer to them, I was kind of like, it felt like I almost missed something, like the resolution of the story or whatever felt sudden or felt quick, versus with that story it was like, oh, there is a moral to the story, that, and then obviously it helps that it like directly related to what was happening in the main character's story at that point in time. But still, like I I I didn't necessarily like the content of the Rakugos throughout, but I thought that they were well done. If that make any sense.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. I think there's a
So-
few Rakugos that like actually like played into the story itself, which I thought it was cool. Like the
I
Shinigami
agree.
one was like in
Yeah.
reference to like him seeing the ghosts when he cleans the gravesite, like stuff like that, where like it sometimes it's like foreshadowing what's to come, sometimes it's like the moral, like Pat said, there's like a moral lesson that from the story that is implemented into it, and that's one thing that I really like. It reminded me of like Review Starlight, where they're having a play on stage, but that play on stage is the story of the show itself. And so like I really like it when shows like intermingle their storylines together like that, and it gave me heavy Review Starlight vibes. So I was a big fan of sort of what they did with the Rakugo stories themselves.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Like they definitely spoiler alert, I guess, like one of the first ones that the comedic guy does, Shin as we're calling him, involves a lover trying to convince a guy to like do a double suicide. And that's not like exactly what happens, but there are certainly like parallels to, well, I guess that is
It is
What?
exactly what happens.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah, well, they just don't die from the double suicide. That part doesn't go through.
Yeah, it's like a joke, like the water was shallow and he just walked back to shore type of thing.
Yeah,
Falling
and
out of a
yeah.
window.
So they're in the last one he gives, right, where he's talking about like getting a real job and not drinking anymore, even though he's like paid off his debt and stuff. Like that was very good and touching, and it's like his little arc. And nothing bad happened after that one.
Nothing.
Did anyone else have other specific ones that they liked? What was what were people's favorite Rakugo performances?
He stopped drinking too. Totally. Yeah, he didn't drink anymore. Yeah.
So mine was the one that Yakumo did directly after his master's death, the Shinigami one. That one was really, really good because it just drove home. I feel like it drove home kind of how he felt about him, because he still loved his like master, but he also felt that both him and Shin were being really foolish about it. And the thing is that Shin still had life, but he didn't, and he was holding out because he was still stubborn. And I feel like that was I feel like that was something that was portrayed very well in the show, especially with the Shinigami kind of mocking him for it, especially after the last conversation that him and his master had.
Mine was episode 6. It was when Yakumo dresses as a geisha, and it's when he
That was a good one.
realizes as a performer of like knowing he has it. This is like he goes from being an amateur to, I feel like this is like his coming out party where it's just like,
Oh, yeah.
okay, whatever I'm doing right now is it. Like, and he knows it. And he's like, it's like the first time where he said, like, I think he said, like, I can control the emotions of like the crowd. Like, they're in the palm of my hand. And so, like, having that as a performer, like, knowing, like, visually seeing that you took the next step. Where, like, yeah, you put in practice, blah, blah, blah. But until you actually get into the game, you don't know if you're going to be better than the next person. And in this moment, it's like, oh, yeah, like, I am him, like, for sure. So, like, I loved episode 6.
Yeah, I agree with that. That was my favorite too. I busted out laughing whenever they were doing it, and he just goes, "Man, I can't do this anymore." Like just with the
Yeah.
deadpan voice. Like that was, I think, maybe probably one of my favorite. It was my favorite Rakugo moment in the show, just like moment period. And I do agree that I think that seeing like the level up happen before your eyes is excellent. Like it's like any other competition sort of like improvement thing. Like it's the same as like watching a sports anime in that way where it's like watching the people improve is the best part, which is like we were talking about it before the show, but that's part of why I kind of didn't like that towards the end. We just sort of skip Yotarou's like whole journey, more or less.
Yeah.
Like, how did you guys feel about that? If you don't mind me asking, just change the subject a little bit.
So I guess like I would have liked to see at least a little bit more of it. I don't know how much detail I go in, but you know, we go from a scene, and then the next scene it has been what 5 years or something,
Yeah,
like after he takes over or whatever. So like some amount of that would be good, and I would have liked to see a little bit more of you know, the opposite side story too at some point. You know, you got to learn about it, the hardships that people have been going through, and like the separation, you know, the two, because that relationship was never going to last because it was built entirely on spite. Um, and like, while that's great, you know, it doesn't last forever. You know, but I'm sure the sex was really good.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah. um, but
What do
like, I
you
would have
feel
liked
like?
to see a little bit more of like that whole aspect, because we get a lot of emotions from people at the end of that little mini arc that's like 5 years after what we've been watching. And I think they just pack it in so tightly that it hurts the show a little bit. Not terribly or anything, but I would have liked it to be more spread out and had more time. Maybe you could cut some sort of 30-minute Rakugo performance in episode 1 and use that time to, um,
I would be
you know,
curious to see if how they do it in the manga. Like
oh, that would be really
if they
interesting. Yeah.
just do a time skip or what. It probably is the same because I've heard it's a pretty faithful adaptation, but.
Anyone else thoughts on that?
I kind of wish that during the Rocket performances that it was a little bit more animated. Like it had more, like it played into the story a little bit more. Honestly, like the story like I wish it had like visuals, more visuals of the story that they were
So something
telling,
like
not
what
just them telling.
you remember what Mononoke does in their like,
Yes,
so something like Mononoke. I think I
exactly.
agree to like a point. I think some visuals would have been cool, but like they didn't make this
That's not the
for a
point of
Western
it,
audience. No,
really.
100%. I think for like a Western audience, it makes more sense to have like a visual because I would say most people aren't familiar with what Rakugo is. And I think
Mhm.
that would be a good introduction to help people visualize what the performer's doing. But we're not the target market. Like Japanese people know what Rakugo is, so I get why
Yeah.
it's clearly just the performer doing what the performer does. But like I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because like how Mononoke does it, I think is fantastic.
I was gonna say this show kind of gives Mononoke, in my
Yeah.
like, one very similar OP, like with that same like music style and everything, sort of like a more traditional Japanese. The stories that they tell feel like you could have told Rakugo that were some of the adventures of, the character in Mononoke if you added a little bit more humor to it. Um, a similar animation style and everything too in some parts.
Yep, agreed.
So I really dug that. The whole presentation of the show.
Which
That's a really good comparison. That's a really good comparison. I like that. The Mononoke, arcs could have all just been Rakugo in theory.
100%. Because it's the guy's telling the story by himself in Mononoke. It's just visualized. So yeah, it's essentially a Rakugo. Do you want to get into the meat potatoes of the love polygon?
Yeah, let's do it.
I think that was like the big drama aspect where, we have this lover's quarrel, this love triangle going on between Yakumo and Miyokichi, and this is like the huge focal point between the romance element in the story. So I guess what are your guys' thoughts on sort of how that was played out? Was it like handled well, or was it like a little bit like domestic girlfriend? Like I would love to get your guys' thoughts.
I've got another incorrect opinion. That's just all we're going to do today for me. Miyukichi's the best character in this show.
I love her.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'll take it. She like sucks and everything, but like there were just so many frames of her and everything that are just gonna live like in my consciousness like forever. Like when he's breaking up with her because he doesn't care about people and just like wants to do Rakugo or whatever, and she's like, which is fine. It's a fine. I'm not saying he's wrong to do it, Jay.
If he was a football player on the Indianapolis Colts, you would be all for it. But since he does Rakugo,
I'm still all for it. One of my favorite Onion articles of all time is Peyton Manning comes out as gay for football.
Yeah, they're gay for Pete, you were saying they were closeted gay. They're not closeted. They're gay for Rakugo.
Oh, he's super gay. Yeah. Yakumo. For sure.
Yeah, but like she's upset about this, which I get because she's in love with him. But she's like standing like behind like that traditional like Japanese door with like the rice paper like window wing, and there's like stars in the background and like a cherry blossom tree, and the wind is blowing, and her kimono is sort of like flowing, and she's like, I will have revenge, perhaps I will die and haunt you. And it was just like, holy shit. I thought that was like one of the best directed scenes I had ever seen. And that's why I like her specifically, because she's the subject of this one scene. But I just thought there were a lot of very powerful moments like that in this love triangle. I felt they did a great job of turning up like the melodrama and the direction at certain points to make good emphasis in comparison to other moments of the drama, which were like sort of more grounded in normal drama stuff. What did everyone else think?
I really enjoyed the way that she acted while she was with Yakumo, and like the strife that they kind of had in their relationship. But once they split off and the immediate Miyokichi going to Sukuroku, or Shin, I was like, oh god. Oh no.
I-
Cuz this is the type of show that I don't really like. I did like Domestic Girlfriend. I don't like Scum's Wish. This felt like another version of that, and I was just like, oh god. And I actually did kind of give a guilty breath of fresh air when I realized that he was going over to them and she was gone. I was like, oh, thank God. Like um, not to celebrate that there's a child that doesn't have a mom, but it's one of those things.
She's for the streets. She's for the streets.
Also, I feel like the way they died, I was just like, okay,
Oh,
really,
yeah.
really, like seriously.
You remember the times though, like I don't know. Nowadays, we'd like to think that doesn't happen very often anymore. buildings were not all up to code back in the post World War II Japan, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Kind of makes sense that would accidents like that happen all the time for one already, and like in real life still, but even more so back. Think about like 100 years ago. How many? Not to get morbid, but like my grandmother was one of 11 children. Only 8 of them made it past like childhood. Like people just died more often back then.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
how many
like
people from defenestration though? Like
to finish.
being thrown out a window.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for making me feel dumb, Miles. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, that's a valid question. My argument against that would be, I don't know. You
Fair
know,
enough.
like
I think we
a
would
lot,
like
maybe.
to talk about the how they died in that ending part, but I would like to hear from Jay and Pete about the drama triangle aspect before we get into that, because I think if we continue too far down that road, we'll get derailed because there's a lot to digest at the end there. So if either of you have thoughts there.
I do agree with Miyokichi being a good character. Like, whenever I say I don't like her, like, it's a testament to how good of a character she is that I do not like her as much as I do because of the way that, like, first of all, I know I posted a meme of this, but let's imagine just in the present, whenever Yakumo's like, yeah, and then your mom ran in and she said that she fucked with me and not you or your dad. And she was crying and shit, and I licked her tears, and then your dad came crying in, and he was kind of upset that I cucked him, so they both jumped out the window. Lol. Like, that's basically what happened. I don't know. I just think that it's so it is kind of Domestic Girlfriend because of how messy it is, so I see the comparison there in the terms of the love polygon. But like, I don't know. I feel like it could have been avoided pretty easily in so many ways, but I guess the plot had to happen or whatever. And I don't know. Yeah. Kat, what do you think?
No, me.
Oh, Pete,
It's Pete,
sorry.
yeah.
I already said what I
Sorry.
think.
So with Miyokichi, the thing what I really liked to her was, hopefully I'm using this term correctly, Miles. She was a little deconstructed, where like we saw that because like she went to Manchuria to, I'm assuming just ran off with like an army brat or something like that, and sort of got like lost there and dumped. So then she states that she has to sell her body in order to make money to get out of Manchuria. And so she sort of like follows in that path where, you know, she ends up being like a geisha and a prostitute for her entire life. And Yakumo is like the first guy that like doesn't look at her the way the other guys look at her. And so that's what she becomes entranced with Yakumo. It's because he's different and he treats me nice and he's not trying to get in my pants. Like, I really like that about him. Like, when you get into like that element of like her character, I like fell in love with it because it's like, is she a bad person at the end? Like, I think we could all agree yes. But like, she's this damaged character, and it comes from all the experiences that she had starting when she was young to where she is now. And then what I really liked about her relationship with Sukaroku, I'm gonna say his name wrong every time, but like, she got broken up with and she needed a rebound. And it reminds me of like when couples are having issues with their relationship and they're like, well, if we just have a kid, we'll be fine. And so like, to me, what I was thinking with her was like, I'm broken right now, but if I have a baby that loves me, like, then I'll be fine because then I'll have somebody who will like love me unconditionally. Turns out she's a terrible mom, like, straight up. I mean, like, I get that she's sick of his shit, but like, she's also just abandoning her daughter. So the drama that goes into like these people like drives around her, and that's why like she was by far my favorite character in the show. And I like that it was expanded. It was just like, she wasn't just like a bad person to be a bad person. We got the necessary information to sort of make like a fair judgment to assess that she is a bad person and not like prematurely judged. So I love that aspect of it. I thought just this is how you do like a really good messy love triangle. Like, it was realistic to a point where like I could see this happening in like even like present day, where it's just like people are just you go through shit and you deal with it in your own way. And I felt like that's how she dealt with her problems.
Yeah, I'm not sure if she is a deconstruction. I would have to think about that more and which trope she's representing. However, I think your analysis of her was spot on. So, no one will ever know what a deconstruction really is, though.
Nope.
Who knows?
One day I'll get
Not
it.
me.
Yeah.
Let's deconstruct that for a little bit.
Yes.
Ah!
Should we get to the
Okay.
ending of the show?
Yeah, let's talk. Can we talk about the ending?
Can I
Or
defend
lead-
it? Can I defend it?
Do you want to go first, or do you want to
Okay.
go after the rest of us go?
I'll go first because I think you guys are all
Okay.
going to have to say the same thing. But
Okay.
from what I have been hearing from like people who like really love this is that the whole story, the whole background of this story is a Rakugo itself through the eyes of Yakumo. And so things are supposed to be like exaggerated to the point where it's like silly and blasphemous. Do I think them falling out of a window and dying together is ridiculous? Absolutely. But I think it's like to drive the point of the story of what Rakugo is, where you can have these elements that like are exaggerated to the point where it's not realistic, or how could that ever happen? And we have the conversations about building standards in 1940s Japan, but like it's something along like those lines where I think if it's through a storytelling element, like in Rakugo, I think it's fine. Though I did laugh my ass off.
I mean, it's sudden tragedy. Like that's the way I just looked at it. Was like, oh well, you know, you can never predict when you're gonna get into a car accident nowadays, right? Like things happen. Like obviously the fact that she mentioned like, oh, let's kill ourselves right before accidentally not trying to kill themselves, that kind of sucked. But it also is why they were in that scenario in the first place. She leaned up against the railing because she was trying to kill herself, and then she realized she didn't want to do that, or that what's his name didn't want to. But then the building failed, and so they died. You know, like again, like it's still a random accident and something that could very foreseeably happen not only in real life but also with the story people, like what you just said too, Pete. Like I think that's, I don't know, I thought the defending or the ending that we were going to have to try to defend was more so the, oh, by the way, the character that we knew in the first episode and haven't seen for 12 episodes. Oh yeah, surprise, I'm pregnant. Oh, who are you pregnant by? I'm not telling you. Really? No, I'm not telling you. Like that drove me nuts. Like I know we're setting up tension for season 2, but like what the fuck? Like what?
It's just a retelling
You know?
of her mom's story.
Yeah, she's just doing the thing. She's mirroring her mom, who also wanted a kid, and then to like have yeah.
She's like a
Okay.
reflection of her mom. It's like the exact same story.
Yeah, and he's
Okay.
a reflection of Suke Roku, so you see how this is gonna go.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it just felt random and like I
It
don't
did.
know.
I think it did. For me, the ending that we were defending, my problem isn't any of the individual things that happened. It was the proximity of them to each other, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it's
you saw like the hedgehog that.
yeah, like we had like 5 minutes left in episode 12, right, before we flash forward, and then they start making out with each other. Oh shit. Then she's like, let's fucking kill ourselves, and is like trying to push him up. And then and then the guy walks in and he's like, I
You
definitely
listen to that
expected
heavy
I was
metal.
about to get cucked. And then they both
I smelled it.
Yeah.
yeah. And then they both fall off of the thing and fucking die. And this happens in 5 minutes, or 1/6 of the time of the Rakugo performance in episode
Wow,
1.
bro, get over it.
I'm Pete. You know me. You know I'm not going to be able to.
Banger,
You know that in
banger.
an episode 7 years from now, I'm going to bring this up.
If anybody wants to kidnap Miles, like tie him to a chair and don't play like torture videos. Just replay episode 1 of Rakugo Shinju, and
Oh
he'll
my
tell
God.
you anything you want him
I
to
was
tell
about to say he
you.
would cave immediately.
Yeah, I would.
Stop.
I watched episode 1 in 3 sittings because I had to quit. But yeah, that was like my only issue with the ending. If these events had happened over the space of like a normal episode, I think I wouldn't have laughed at it. Like, you know what I mean? I thought like they start making out, and I was like, and then like she's like, let's fucking kill ourselves. And there had been like for the TV ratings, there had been a suicide warning the entire time. And since he told the double suicide story, I was like, oh, these guys are going to kill themselves. That's what I thought was going to happen. And they like kind of did, but by accident. But so like I was like, okay, there's only like 1 minute left. When is this going to happen? And then like 2 other things happened, and then they died. It was a very jam-packed period of time. It was really funny. It was legitimately, and it shouldn't have been funny because there's a whole bunch of tragic things happening in a row, and it's one of the funniest scenes I've seen in anime. And I laughed at it more than I laughed at any of the Rakugo performances.
Miles also laughed at Grave of the Fireflies for reference, so just to let you know, that's the type of person
Let's
that
not.
is.
So,
not.
Okay, that's a lie. Fine.
Thank you. I haven't seen it yet. I'll let you know how much I laughed though.
Oh my God!
Kat, what are your thoughts here?
So, Jesus fucking Christ. My thoughts for the ending are that, like, when I was watching it, like, I knew that we had to get to them dying soon. Like it was either gonna happen in episode 12 or episode 13 when I was watching it. Right? So at episode 12, I was like, okay, this is how they were gonna die. And also the way that episode 1 kind of built up to Yakumo being the killer of Konatsu's father. I thought it was gonna be that, like, he, like, from the way that he was holding him, I thought it was gonna be like a traffic accident or something similar to that, like something not them just like off a building. So while I was watching it, and as things just kind of happened so quickly, I was like, huh, that's interesting. Like, I didn't have any strong feelings, and then they both fell, and I was like, so. And they also showed how far up they were above the river, and I was like, so how was he not paced? Like that was. Like I get that it's a show. I get this like suspension of disbelief, but like it, I didn't feel great about that. Like that just that was a little bit out of my suspension of disbelief, especially when the rest of the show has been so grounded in reality.
Were they that far up? I thought they were like 2 stories up. And
This was another thing I was going to ask. Would they have even fucking died?
That's what I was wondering, actually. So sorry to like completely contradict you here, Kat.
They took out a gun in the middle.
Yeah,
of the
and shot each
fall.
other in midair. Yeah, like there you go.
Like
No,
John
that like
Wick.
Yeah.
Miyukichi's last words were "whoopsie daisies."
no, and
There's a
yeah.
banana peel on the fucking.
Yeah, they landed on the ground but slipped on a banana.
Cracked their heads open.
A piano fell from the roof and squished them when they hit the ground.
That's terrible.
Could have survived with the banana peel, put him at terminal velocity.
Yeah, but yeah, sorry to contradict you there, Kat. But I don't know. I looked at it when they showed them dangling, and I'm like, what are they 2 stories up? Like, oh, so one of them could would they really both die from this? I mean, again, likely could happen. I'm not gonna nitpick the show over that, but like I didn't like they're in like rural Japan still, aren't they? So like I'd be surprised if there were any buildings that were actually like that tall, But fair enough. I liked the way that they showed them dying.
No, they were in. Didn't they die at the? Wasn't it? Did they die before they got to Tokyo? No, they died
at
before
the hot spring town that they lived in.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, they are pretty far up. I just found like a picture of it because in my head, so it's the second story of a building that is one side is facing a cliff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That makes
so yeah, because I knew it was the second floor, so I was like, couldn't he have just like lowered her down and then sort of braced himself and fell and maybe broken a leg? But no, they would be very dead.
Yeah.
They're gonna die from this. 100%.
I would have been like, "You're right, Brody. Let go of her. Let's go do that show outside Tokyo again, like the old days." Yeah. She's caused nothing but trouble since she got here.
Yeah, she literally betrayed you 10 seconds ago. Like,
Yeah, that's another thing.
Okay, she betrayed you 10 seconds ago, and 5 seconds ago she tried to kill you and or herself and her best friend. And your best friend. So, I don't know. I'm not saying that he should have done it, but if you were going to, I'd get it.
Yourself and your adopted brother, not just best friend.
Yes.
For the streets. He's for the
Yeah,
streets.
it's the other guys. Aim for the bushes.
Don't say that. You don't want to be saved.
Those ain't loyal.
My
Those are not
God,
loyal.
bro.
Who would have thought that a geisha wouldn't be loyal? That's crazy, right?
Hey,
Like, hey.
don't geisha shame, man. Like,
Slut
She wasn't
shaming.
a geisha by the end because there
She
was the
quit.
anti.
She had
Well,
quit.
no,
Did she not literally do it? Like, that's
She
why she
didn't.
left to go back to doing it.
no, she
Like,
couldn't have done it because the anti-prostitution law passes in Japan in 1948. So
Miles
was
has
probably
that memorized.
doing
I was
something
gonna
else.
say, laws definitely stop
Yeah,
prostitutes.
that's why
She
I
was like a
always said
performer. They
Japan
talk about
went-
how she's a good singer and shit.
downhill in 1940. Yeah, if you were a geisha, you also have to like
You good
be
at other
good at
stuff.
Yeah,
yeah.
entertaining
I know.
stuff,
I'm just
yeah.
saying, like, they showed her laying there talking to another man in one of the in one of the moments where they where what's his name was describing why she left or whatever, or the daughter was talking about her, which again, maybe that's the daughter projecting or something.
I think that's how
but,
she
like,
copes.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that. Like, I don't think she was a geisha. She might have just been banging someone else. You know,
That's-
like
yeah, fair
there's
enough.
a 3-person Rakugo family, and she sleeps with all of them. Like, you know,
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah.
I legit forgot that she also slept with their master.
yeah, she was his.
Don't
mistress.
tell the wife.
His
Don't tell
courtesan.
the wife.
You don't have to. She was dead.
Yeah, and then he was acting all torn up about it, despite being the most unfaithful man that ever lived.
Emotions are complicated.
Different times back then too. I feel like, right?
Yeah,
Like,
we all have to accept that our grandparents probably didn't love each other.
My grandparents absolutely love each other. Your grandparents might not have.
At best, your grandpa probably like just kind of like fucked with her a bit, and at worst, he hit her. So, all right.
If we're talking about great grandparents, sure, but my grandma and granddad.
I'm not
love
talking about
each
your
other.
grandparents in particular, Kat. I'm sorry. I should.
Oh,
make that
okay,
clear.
never mind.
I think Jay is specifically talking about only your grandparents, Kat.
Yeah.
It was always about your grandparents specifically. Kat.
Everyone else's grandparents definitely loved each other, but
okay, let's do our closing thoughts. I think anything that we
Also,
missed, we can talk about.
anyone interested in Rakugo season 2 and say you wanted to see how tall the building was, don't Google Rakugo death scene and then click images.
Oh,
Don't do it.
I won't.
Probably not something you should do.
What?
That's
Miles, why did you click on the live link video that came up
Yeah.
whenever
Holy shit!
when did King Cartel get involved with this? What the hell? Like, sorry, bad joke. All right, yeah, let's do our closing thoughts. Miles, why don't you start us off with your final thoughts? Anything we didn't discuss, and your why is my brain farting? Oh yeah, your score. That's what it is.
Yes. I very much enjoyed this show for large swaths of it. I thought the ending was kind of weird and a bit rushed and like didn't necessarily fit. It felt like something that would happen in Riverdale. This will make sense to
So it's
Jay.
peak.
Yeah, it is peak, but it's like it's peak on like a different mountain range the rest of the show is peak in. There was 2 different peaks and the juxtaposition did sort of get to me. And the first episode is maybe the worst episode of anime ever created. Or TV, at that matter. Who knows? Like, honestly, Star Wars Holiday Special, Episode 1 of Rakugo Shinjuu. I don't know. However, I really like this. I really like the characters. I thought the direction was great. I thought the soundtrack was phenomenal. It has a banger OP and a banger ED. Music was used at very opportune times. They get the vibe and the aura and the atmosphere of everything done super well. I think the direction is phenomenal. Unfortunately, it sort of bookended for me a little poorly, so I would give this show a 9 normally, but because episode 1 exists, I'm going to give it an 8.
8. Alrighty. Kat, what about you?
Yeah, I found the show was really enjoyable. I enjoyed the characterization and the voice acting, especially when it came to Yakumo's performances, especially after episode 6, because it Sukuroku was right. Like when Yakumo goes into that more like sultry, a little bit more like erotic types of stories, it plays out really, really well. I thought it played out a lot better than when he did the first Rakugo that he performed in. Uh, but yeah, I this show is I've been stuck on trying to decide on what score to give it because I've been in between a 7 and an 8. I think that it deserves an 8.
Yeah, you can't give it lower than I did after I went off on like one of the episodes. The way it's like 8 has to be the floor here. I'm sorry.
7.
No!
Don't tell me I can't do it. I will. I'll give it an 8.
All right, Nate. I was about to say, so 7 or an 8. All right. Fair enough. Jay, what about you?
Yeah. I think that this show was like a whole vibe. It was the way that it captured the time period, the characters, the way that it mirrored the Rakugo, the voice acting, just everything. The OP, the ED, literally everything. I felt like was near immaculate apart from like the pacing issues. And by pacing issues, I mean I do agree that episode 1 was slow, but I also think that the passage of time in general was sort of hard to keep up with. I think that maybe just some cards saying the year that it was when we had random time skips would have gone a long way. And you know what? You could have also saved on a little bit of animation too. Hire me, Studio Dean. I'll save you. So for those reasons, this for me is a 9.
9. Alrighty. Pete, what about you?
Yeah, one thing that we didn't touch on that I would love to just bring up was just the bromance itself. More specifically, how Yakumo relied on Sukiroku so much for his development as a Rakugo, where he would essentially take so much shit because that's how important he was to the growth of his Rakugo. And I thought like how that was displayed in the story was awesome, and then just their friendships that they had with the battles that they fought, whether it's through Rakugo or relationships or just personal involvement. I loved it. One of the best voice acting I've ever heard in anime. It carried a lot of the show for me because I was just entranced in so many different times of the story where it wasn't just the Rakugo that like captivated me. It was just like normal conversations because of how their dialogue was just presented, and that's something that I fell in love with the show. The characters were great. The cast was awesome. I can't wait to see what happens in season 2 because I heard it's super spicy. There's like I'm pretty sure there's a reason why it was like nominated for like anime of the year that year, and I'm looking forward to hopefully discussing season 2 on the podcast sometime. So, yeah, loved it. It reminds me a lot of like March Comes in Like a Lion season 1, where like I really want to see where it progresses before I give the series itself like a total score. So I think right now it's a placeholder of a 9, which I think has a possibility of being a 10 when season 2 is finished, or when I watch season 2.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I don't think I have much else to say about the show at this point. Like I feel pretty confident in my score. I think I agree with Pete that it could go up if there is more in season 2 that I really like, or like there's more payoff towards that final episode and the things that happen in it. I am somewhere between an 8 and a 9, and I think I'm going to land at an 8 because I didn't feel like my opinion, if anything, went up after we've talked about it. If anything, it stayed around the same, if not gotten worse. So, uh, I still very much did like this show, though. I think an 8 out of 10 is a pretty damn good score for it, and it's deserving of having a very high floor. I think, like what Miles was saying too, that even with our problems with it, there are so many great aspects of the show as well that it deserves credit for acting on or performing with. So yeah, between the 5 of us, that means we average out to an 8.4, which is 0.15 lower than what it ended up being on Mal. And yeah, I guess that wraps up Rakugo Shinju on Anime Watch Club. So Miles, what are we watching 2 weeks from now?
Yes, and let me see if that last vote ever came in or not. It didn't.
Stop the count.
So okay.
Okay.
If that's what you want. Um sorry, I need to organize myself a little bit because life is bad. Okay. Yes, so in third place we had High School of the Dead, earning either its fourth or fifth legacy point. I will have to recover my legacy point tracking spreadsheet in a minute here, but I know it had at least 3. In second is 86 Part 2.
Oh.
And in first, we will be watching Bang Dream My Go. In a very tight race between the top 3 shows here at 23, 25, and 26 points. Kat, who voted halfway through this episode, decided it. So
It's your boy. I forgot.
We did
That's
it.
your boy.
This counts as my win, though. Just remember.
Yeah. I'll put my name in the spreadsheet 100%.
I will drive to your house and change that spreadsheet.
Remember, if you next time I see you, I get to shoot you. So you have to decide if
You have to shoot like 4 people now. I don't know if you saw the YouTube comments. You have to shoot like 4 people.
Yeah, it's you know,
It's
coming
gotta
to a
be
crime
done.
wave near you. It's
Yep.
Miles.
Yep. What's
Right.
that movie called? Kiefer Sutherland, he like loses it in traffic and starts killing people.
Oh, you're thinking of not Kiefer Sutherland. It's Russell Crowe.
No,
Yes,
it's not Russell Crowe.
It is Russell Crowe. There is a Russell Crowe one where he does the same thing. I swear to you.
I don't know what any of this
Falling
is.
Down. That's what the movie's called. It's
Okay.
Michael Douglas.
There is
Okay.
a Russell Crowe one where he does the same thing.
Falling
Oh,
Down.
yeah.
Falling Down is an insane movie. If you like American Psycho, watch Falling Down.
Okay. Well,
That's my recommendation. I'm nominating Falling Down.
Like American Psycho.
Alright.
yay, we're doing Bang Dream Season 2.
That's not what we're doing. We're doing Bang Dream My Go.
Which is Season 2 of Bang Dream.
Not even close.
No,
Yeah.
it's a standalone. Nothing to do with what we watched.
Nothing. It just
Nothing.
has
Well,
the same
I mean,
exact name.
It's like Love
Same
Live.
plot-
Yeah.
Same way that like 2 separate Gundams have nothing to do with each other, like that concept.
Okay. Cool. I'm really glad we're doing this.
You like Girls
One of
Band
our-
Cry. It's compared to Girls Band Cry a lot.
And that's what I'm interested to see.
Yep.
So
Lots
Yeah.
of
I
comparison.
understand the skepticism. I do.
Should be fun.
You know, like other Gundam stuff is really good. Most of the
If
time.
you were the lone dissenter in this, it will make for a good episode. Maybe.
I don't know. We all hated Bang Dream.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
true.
Why do you think I am reacting? That's why I am reacting.
Instead
this
of Bang
way.
Dream, just think of it as It's My Go. That we're just watching It's My Go. That's
Okay.
what
No,
that's what we're
I
watching.
don't want to think of it that way.
I refuse to think. My brain is tired, and I am hungry.
Pat's gonna be like, at the end of next 2 weeks from now, he's gonna be like, "I love this show." Anyways, out of principle, I'm giving the show a 4.
Yep.
It's like-
That's what I did with Happy Sugar Life. I mean, yeah, totally. All right, let's talk about the shows we're nominating now for 2 weeks from now to vote on. So, what have you got for us, Miles?
yeah. Kat, did you nominate 86 Part 2?
Yeah, I did.
You gonna do it again?
Just steal it from him. You stole it from me.
No, I like Kat though.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah, I'll nominate it again.
Okay, I'll do O Maidens again then.
Oh fuck.
Oh, Maidens? You're doing
Yep,
Maidens.
yeah. I'm gonna
Sorry,
do.
sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. No worries.
Kat, what about you?
86 Part 2.
It would have been
Hey,
such a
thank
good
you.
heel turn right there. If you...
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I was thinking about nominating 86. Not 86. Fucking motherfucking Ghost.
Oh yeah, okay.
MF Go. Okay, yeah. So, anyways, cool. 86 Part 2. Yes, let's get that. Let's do that. That'd be fun. Jay, what about you?
I'm gonna nominate High School of the Dead.
Are you actually?
Yes.
Oh,
Oh
God
my
damn it!
God.
Like,
I didn't have any reason
Wow.
for it.
you said
Hey,
I'm
you
being
gotta come with 2
cut.
shows.
I have 2 shows. I just, you know what? No, now I get to
If it-
vote.
Yeah, Pat, if it makes you feel better, I
Yeah,
don't
you get
think
to
Jay
vote
has been
for it.
voting for it in like first or anything, so it probably just gains points from this transaction.
Yeah,
I
let's
think I
vote.
vote for it in second or third each time.
Yeah,
which-
like
so you are
unironically,
correct. Yes.
yeah, like me stealing Bang Dream from Pete literally made it win.
Yeah, but I won.
So I won.
I won.
But the show won.
I
So
won.
really we all win.
Exactly.
if
You know what?
it's
Good
good.
point. We all
Except
won.
for me.
Yeah.
When the fans
like
win,
Girls
we
Band
all
Cry.
win.
Yeah, I did. I liked it for what it was. I am good on girls band shows for the next like 6 years of my life, I feel.
I'm nominating Bochi. I changed my vote.
Yeah.
So we're gonna
Eventually
just
we'll run
yeah.
out.
The recap
so-
movies. Let's go.
K
Oh my
on
God.
season 4.
Absolutely.
Okay. Pete, what are you nominating?
So as
2?
I gotta give an apology to Zig for Ringing Fate. I told him that I would nominate it, but I don't think it's going to win anytime soon, and I don't think people are going to watch the episode. So I think I'm gonna have to forfeit Ringing Fate for a bit. So this, we brought it up in this episode actually, and it comes out November 28th. So I'm gonna nominate the Mononoke movie.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
Do you need to watch the series for that first?
I'm gonna
Probably.
assume yes.
Okay.
It's a
I
it's
should
a
watch
J
it
code.
anyway. So.
I was gonna say
Yeah,
it's a
it's
J
really
core
you.
show.
Yeah,
It's
you
like
would
the
love
most
it.
J core show ever.
Okay. I believe you. Just
It's-
looking at it, I believe you.
Our dear friend Hastek's favorite anime.
Yes.
Yeah. Me and Has have similar taste.
And
I'm
it's
cool and hip with it.
in my top 20, so you'd probably like it.
Alrighty. I'm gonna nominate the Princess Principal movies again. Throwaway vote, I guess, because no one cares. And I want to watch 2, maybe 3 of the shows that we've put forth so far. So yeah, I guess that's our nominations for Watch Club, and that wraps us up. So Pete, take it away.
Yes, if you have made this far and you want to support us, the best way to do so, like, comment, subscribe, leave a review on whatever platform you are watching or listening to us on. Last week we did a Thanksgiving episode. You should go check that out. I really liked it. Me and Miles did an episode. Otherwise, if you next week we're doing something, don't know yet. We'll figure it out. Always do. Otherwise, if you are here for Watch Club, we will see you in 2 weeks for Bang Dream. It's my go. Thanks, and we'll see you next time. Peace.